Should be hammering it. Yeah. Right, everybody, welcome to Off the Platform. Back in black with my boy Jackson. How are you, Jackson?
I'm great, thanks, bro. I've missed you.
I know. Fighting COVID. Yep, off fighting COVID, but we've beaten COVID. Fingers crossed, eh?
Wow, I hope so. Fucking A, I'm hanging out for the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been training?
Nah, dude, I don't have a gym in Palmy now. Whereas back in Christchurch, I had all my own stuff. Whereas now in Palmy, nothing.
Wow. So no training whatsoever?
Nah.
Wow, how does that feel?
Bro, I'm fat. It's bad. I'm fat. It's gross.
I haven't trained for 2 weeks and I feel guilty about not actually caring. I'm thinking, shit, have I just rounded the corner of not caring? Anyway, we've got a special guest on today, Patrick Morrison. Welcome, Patrick. Thanks for coming and joining us on the podcast tonight.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem. So,
thanks for coming on, Pat. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. How's life for you in Australia there in these times, COVID times, lockdowns and so forth?
Well, I'm in Adelaide, so it's not too bad. The eastern states of Australia are pretty well. Do you guys swear on your? Am I going to get in trouble?
No, go hard. Go hard. Okay. We label it as explicit, so there's no kids listening, I hope.
No,
all right, good. Just my kids upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are in the lounge watching Thor Ragnarok, so we're okay.
Yeah, look, the eastern states are pretty well fucked, but South Australia's managed to get away with quite a bit actually. And the only times we've gone into lockdown is because someone from one of the eastern states has fucked us. So realistically,
yeah.
Look, if it wasn't someone from Melbourne, then it was someone from New South Wales. Although that said, someone from Adelaide had COVID and then put Melbourne into their last lockdown, I think. So
you got them back. Yeah, getting them back for it. Fucking A.
And then someone from New South Wales fucked us.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just fucking everyone.
It's from Sydney.
Yeah.
They're fucking sluts.
Funny, we've had drivers from New South Wales come through. So now they're like contaminated some of our rural places in South Australia. So, truck drivers just passing through, bringing a Delta with them.
Yeah. It's always the ones that have got it's tourists who decide to visit every single tourist destination on their way through. Every time we see one of these COVID outbreaks, it's like, yes, and here are the 25 places of interest this person went to. I'm like, fuck, 25. Yeah. I haven't been to 25 places this year, let alone in a 2-day period. How the fuck? Yeah. Damn tourists.
Our last lockdown was because of an 80-year-old man that came back from overseas, and he'd been to like 30 different places. I'm like, how does an 80-year-old person get about like that?
Probably bathrooms.
Yeah, he's probably got a new mobility scooter. He's got to stop off every half hour.
Yeah, stopping off for a cup of tea and a bathroom break. That'll be my mum.
Yeah.
I even went to a restaurant, and like the restaurant was what set it off. Like everyone in the restaurant got COVID, and then we were sort of screwed for a few days. But we were only in lockdown for like a week, so it was okay.
Oh, smooth sailing.
Living the dream. Fucking hell. Yeah. We're coming up to 3 weeks. This Tuesday.
How many cases do you guys have though?
Oh, at the moment, Greg, what are we saying? 700?
It was 700 the other day. I know I haven't seen the latest numbers. I'd say it'd probably be around. I think we had 20 yesterday, so it must be. And I'm 2 days out, I think. So I'd say late 700s, maybe early 800s. So, but definitely, it peaked, and now it's definitely dropping now. Quite quickly.
That's from three weeks of being in lockdown. Have you seen the numbers coming out of New South Wales every day?
No.
Haven't they got like 1,000 a day or some shit?
Yeah. Well, the other day they hit a record of like 1,400 and something in a day.
Jesus.
So, and they're still not in full lockdown, like because Gladys just refuses to go into complete lockdown.
It's mad, eh?
They were pushing out hundreds of cases a day, and they're just like, oh yeah, no, we'll just lock down this one suburb. I'm like, what the fuck's that going to do? It's Sydney, mate. Everyone goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things, eh? It's interesting to see the different ways people are trying to handle it and stuff. Like, I think we went into like a hard lockdown, the whole country for one case.
I remember that. I saw that.
And so that's what we are now. And it's all of a sudden, even with that big of a lockdown straight away, it was 700 people so far, obviously 700 or 800.
Yeah, I've seen projections that if we hadn't gone into lockdown, it would be in the 5-digit numbers by now in terms of cases. Yeah, if we hadn't gone into lockdown.
What's your vaccination rates like in New Zealand though?
Not good, not good. 50%. I think we're at 40% of the population.
Yeah, but that's with their first jab. For double jabbed is only like a fifth, like 20% or something. I just went and got my first one today, actually. So we're on the mat.
Oh, you're all good?
I reckon.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Fine, bro. I'll do some side raises.
Nice.
I'm hoping for a bit of site growth, so that my shoulder gets bigger. Shoulders get bigger.
It's just one here, one here.
I'll be like, next time I'll be like, I'll do this one just so that I get both because I haven't been training.
Don't be that guy that comp, mate, with one shoulder bigger than the other. One butt cheek bigger than the other.
Yeah, no one likes that guy. But anyway, so yeah, Pat, what's obviously, so most people don't know, in your day-to-day, what do? You're a nurse still?
No, so I haven't actually worked as a nurse since last lockdown, like our first lockdown in South Australia. We went into lockdown like March last year, and right before that, I was working full-time nursing, and then like I was a community nurse. So the main things I did were like antibiotic administration, wound care, did some stuff with like chemotherapy, that sort of thing. And then I was working in the gym as well because Crystal, my partner, she'd owned the gym for a little while, and I just started working with her, got sick of nursing. And I just went casual and then never went back. And I got like an email from my manager in like September last year saying, Patrick, we haven't heard from you since March. Like, what's going on? Do you still work for us or not? I'm like, oh, nah, this is my resignation. Thanks. So shameless plug, Strength Lab, down in South Australia. Completely unintentional. That's
great, bro. That's great. That's what we're all about.
Segue. Yeah, we're all about the segues in here. Yeah.
So you're full-time gym owner and coach. Yep.
So full-time gym owner, coach, and student. So this year I went back to uni, just because I wanted to get into physiotherapy.
Cool.
So like a lot of the work that I do in the gym is, I guess, managing people's injuries. And then I was like, well, I just kind of wanted to be an authority figure to them, and being a coach is one thing, but I'm never going to be able to override like their chiropractor or their physiotherapist. So even if I felt like I knew better, it was like, I'm always going to be someone that doesn't have that authority. So I just figured go to uni, become a physiotherapist, and then I'll be that, that person they'll actually listen to, because I've got the little piece of paper that says physio.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Patrick, are these people that are coming in with injuries beforehand, or are these injuries as a result of your coaching? It's kind of like a nice little loop of, hey, sorry about the hamstring there, but hey, I've got the perfect.
As well.
Yeah.
Definitely not a result of my coaching. I think no. So like in our gym, we coach. Most of the powerlifters I coach are actually online. But in the gym, we deal with like a lot of gen pop. So we run like a group fitness and group strength training. And as part of that group strength training, like because we're dealing with the general population, a lot of them will have like, shoulder pain or knee pain. And they'll just be like, oh, I've had this pain for years. And it's the sort of thing that puts them off of their like playing team sport in like their teens or as a young adult. And the median age is probably 35, 40. So, you've got those people in that age bracket where they come in and they haven't done anything for years. And because they haven't done it, because they're like, oh, every time I try to do this, my ankle hurts or my knee hurts. And I guess I just do everything that I can to get them back to that. So, I don't cause their injuries. In fact, I get very upset when my powerlifters get injured. I think just one of them competed on the weekend and he tore his pec. And like, we've really done everything we can to manage his injury right up until like manage his injuries, because he has a history of like muscle tears before he came to me. And we've built a really good base. He's built like a lot more muscle, a lot more strength, and we've just avoided that injury so well. And then comp day just went to shit. But that's what happens. Like that's just the risks that we take, especially when you're having to cut into a comp. Like you're not hydrated well, then those risks.
Do you think I always wondered, you might be able to answer this one. Do you think some people are genetically predisposed to like muscle tears and injuries in general?
In his case, like I'm starting to question that, just because he can be quite sensitive. But like, again, I don't know that like what you guys are sort of taboo on talking about, but I do think that
nothing's taboo, mate.
Some people are probably more susceptible to risk of injury from drug use. Like the fact is that like, tendons, bones, that they take a little bit longer to get stronger than a muscle. So when you've got someone that starts using drugs and they get stronger, doing crazy shit, and then where do they go? They disappear. Like they don't stick around long term because they burn themselves out. Either they injure themselves or they cause some long-term damage to their organs, and then they fuck off and no one sees them.
I think that's like probably pretty self-explanatory in the fact that like it's pretty routine in untested powerlifting to see like bicep tears on a deadlift or pec tears on a bench or whatever, but you very rarely see that in tested powerlifting. Like
it's absolutely not common at all. So like it's very rare that you'll see a natural lifter tear like a pec or a bicep.
Like they'll get niggles because they're just not recovering or whatever, but like a full-on muscle rupture, you very rarely see it.
It's not common, and the thing is that like the research into it's not going to exist because frankly like the people that are conducting research, they don't give a shit. Like that no one's got time to do a paper on why are these drugged up people tearing their muscles. They're just like, oh, that's your stupidity for using the drugs to start off with.
And like they wouldn't ethically be able to do the study. They wouldn't be able to be like, hey, I want you to take like X amount of whatever, and then we'll see if you tear a pec.
Well, they couldn't ethically do that study now. I mean, in some countries, I'm sure they could, but definitely not, in Australia, and not something that we're going to be able to get in English anyway.
True. It is a funny one. I think it's a case of that. Like you say, when you add in like exogenous hormones, muscles and stuff grow much faster than because they have much more of a blood supply than tendons and bones and stuff, like you say. So people get their muscles are strong enough to do this, but their tendons and bones are only strong enough to do 20% less or whatever. And but you don't get that in natural athletes because it's pretty like the progress is so slow. They have time to
it's really uncommon. It's definitely really uncommon. And like if you do see it on the rare occurrence, you do see it like the person's typically that you can see that they're going to head that way anyway based off of the way they move. But if their technique's trash, then anyone's going to get injured.
100%.
Patrick, what's the state of powerlifting in Australia at the moment? Is it taking off? Is it increasing in popularity from in the how many years have you been in it now? Going back to 2014 by the looks of it, but maybe before that as well. So
no, so 2014 is when I first competed, but I was contemplating competing like 6 years before that. I just never thought I was strong enough, to be honest. But it's definitely grown. COVID's definitely trying to slow things down. A lot of the big meets that usually happen, like Pro Raw, just get cancelled because no one can travel, so there's no point holding a meet if no one can show up to it. And there was another meet that was supposed to be happening, and hopefully will still happen in New South Wales by new guys that I've never heard of before. But it's just a gym there calling it like Breakthrough. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen that at all.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram. It looked like a big meet. Looked cool.
Yeah, like just out of nowhere, they're just like, hey, we've got 25 grand. $10,000 is going to go to overall male, $10,000 is going to go to overall female, and just like come have at it. I'm just like, fuck man, I'm going to go get some of that money. Like I want 10 grand.
Yeah. This is a WRPF meet, is it?
It is a WRPF. Yep.
Yeah. Are they on the rise in Australia?
I think WRPF has had like a bit of a bad rap in recent time, like in the recent years, but I think they're heading in the right direction. I know the guy that runs it down in Tasmania, and like with the meets that he's put on, he messaged me and asked me about who would be like a good recommendation for referees. So I put forward some names for that. So that way, because basically he just wants to make sure that like WRPF is putting like the best light possible and is taken seriously, because previously it hasn't been. And I think they did a really, really good job over the weekend of demonstrating like, fair judging and judging the way that it should be done versus, allowing really high squats to pass and touch and go benches. There was none of that shit. So yeah. I think it's definitely on the rise.
It's the easiest thing to really manage, isn't it? Is the quality of the reffing in terms of how people perceive your federation. Is the reffing would be the number one, wouldn't it?
It's the biggest contributor though, as well, to how successful a fed is. I think we can all probably agree on that. Is that
absolutely.
Yeah. Is that like lifters will lift where they respect the reffing, I suppose, if you know what I mean. Like, and if you're going to get the good lifters who want quality reffing doing your comps if you prove that the reffing's good. Whereas if you consistently have bad reffing, you're going to get those people that just want the easy, like high squats or touch and go benches or whatever, soft lockouts on deadlifts. So it's definitely one of the driving factors of whether a competition survives or not.
Yeah. What would you say? What would you say, Patrick, would be the contributing factors towards how a fed is perceived? I mean, other than the refereeing, and obviously the level of competition is a factor as well. There's no point having a stellar refereeing when you're the only one in your class.
If everyone's got a gold medal.
I think that the refereeing is obviously super important, but there's also the depth of the competition. So, if you have enough people competing and enough registered members within the federation, then that's going to drive competition. And if you don't have that, then it's going to make it really hard for you to be taken seriously. Like WRPF doesn't have a huge membership base, but they're huge down in Tasmania and they are growing. I think they've got over 200 people registered in Tasmania. And if you don't know Australian powerlifting, that's actually fucking massive. Like in South Australia, we probably have, we don't have nowhere near the same amount of population. We've got more popular people in our population than Tasmania, but we've probably got not even 100 people competing. You'd have 30 people rock up to a local meet, and that's them pushing it. Crazy. So definitely depth of competition is super important for a federation. I'm not sure if it was a loaded question or not, though, because I moved away from GPC. But
no such thing as loaded questions in this podcast.
We're not smart enough for that, bro. We're not smart enough. No,
you give us too much credit.
Look, I think that people running the federation is obviously important, but less so than the actual lifters themselves. The lifters make the federation, simple as that, and the lifters will go where they feel like that they're supported and that they've got the competition that they want, because at the end of the day, we're not competing some people might just be competing to, have fun with their friends, but a lot of us are probably competing because we want to fucking beat people. I don't know about you guys, but when I compete, I want to get pushed. I want to go against someone that's fucking strong. I don't even give a shit about weight classes anymore. It's who's the strongest person? I want to go up against that person because I know that I'm going to get pushed on the day to lift as much as possible. That's what I want. And I would like to think that most powerlifters want that as well.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's hard though, because you look at how many feds there are worldwide. I mean, we had this discussion with Sixpack. How many feds are there worldwide? Hundreds.
There's too many. Yeah, there's definitely too many.
But most of the members, they compete because they want to be able to say, oh, I've got a national record in this, when the record was blank in the first place. So anyone who lifted there was going to get the record. You know what I mean? So that's the majority of powerlifters, I feel, are that. If you did a bell curve, the majority of the powerlifters are in that middle bit where they want to get a national record or a world record, or everyone gets a gold medal because they're in their own age class or weight class. But for people like us, it's that's not how it is. I don't enjoy that sort of lifting.
Look, no, I totally agree. There's a lot of people like that, and do you know what? They're also the people that don't last in powerlifting either. They have a very short shelf life, because once they get that record, then off they go. They're just tick that little ego box. I got a little record that essentially means nothing, and off they go on their merry way. But they're not here for the long run.
That is one of the things, really, is powerlifting actually does have a really high churn rate of people who do it. You know what I mean? People will do powerlifting for a couple of years. I think the average life of a powerlifter is 3 years or some shit. You know what I mean? So people only do it for 2 or 3 years and they're out. Whereas you get someone a footy player, they play footy for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? Or cricket or whatever, they'll play it forever. But powerlifting, what do you think causes that?
you think though that they actually are leaving the sport, or do you think they're just relegating themselves to doing the lifts in the gym, maintaining some semblance of a physique? What's the allure of well, they're not doing sport, no, but I wonder if, we say they're in and out of the sport, and they probably are, but to be honest, they probably are, but are they still working out in the background? Because it takes a huge commitment. We're a niche sport at the end of the day. And the rewards are few. The work is massive. The costs associated with competing sometimes they're not exorbitant, but they're there. There's travel. There's also sorts of things and other things that go into paying for competition. And I guess once when the competition's either way too advanced, you realize you're not part of the elite. You're not going to achieve that 1,000 kilo total at 82 kilos. And you came third in your weight class, 3 years in a row. What's left to do? I'm talking about myself there. Sorry, just fuck
you all. We must have hit it.
I was feeling the bias there, but
like this prick say that they don't appreciate you.
So we've found Greg's soft spot since he's been away.
No, I just think a lot of people probably still working out, but not necessarily competing. I guess there's a certain few that have that drive and determination to keep going year after year, but it's I would say it's a minority.
It's a funny one. Pat, you were saying before that you have a lot of gen pop at your gym, and you run sort of like group strength classes, and obviously yourself knowing how to train properly, I imagine that your circuit classes aren't like stupid cardio bunny circuits. They're like properly thought out and strength based and etc. Do you get many people that do that and then they're like, hey, actually, Pat, Crystal, I enjoy this, how do I get more into it?
Yeah, so that's basically what we do. We train them like we would powerlifters, but they're only spending 2 to 3 hours a week in the gym. Like, they only train for an hour, and they get really good results on that. And as far as any of them converting over to powerlifting, we've got one so far who has changed over, and then I've moved her onto a high volume program. She has moved out of that group class. But then there's some people in there that could realistically, if they said to me, hey, Patrick, I want to compete, I'd be like, sick, you can compete. Just keep doing what you're doing, because we've got, like, for example, we've got a gal in there, she weighs like less than 60 kilos and she's deadlifting like 100 kilos for reps. She deadlifts like 2.5 times body weight, and she trains 2 hours a week. So you know what I mean? Like, there's like a bunch of gen pop in there that have the potential to be really good powerlifters, but they don't, like, they do it, but we don't push powerlifting on them. In fact, we don't really talk about it. I've got all my trophies up in the gym from Pro Raw. So I've got like 6 Pro Raw trophies sitting up on the wall, and like we've got all these like first place medals hanging off everything. Looks really cool, but none of them really, we don't talk about it. None of them do anything about it until I put them up, and they're just like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, what is
like,
that?
Do you guys lift weights?
Do you guys actually train us?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Speaking of, 6 Pro Raw trophies, that's a fair bit of a flex for anyone in the powerlifting world. So how many times have you won Pro Raw? 6? 6.
Yeah. I won 6 years in a row. Yeah.
Dang. All right.
So 2014, 15, 16, 17, yeah. Won 6 years in a row.
Did you won Aussie Nationals a couple of times in there as well, yeah?
Well, technically I bombed GBC Nationals 2 years in a row, but won overall twice. So I don't know. You tell me.
How did you technically bomb?
How does that work? Yeah.
Because I didn't do what I wanted to do. So like, I think I went like 4 for 9, 5 for 9. I think the last one I did was, did I do 2017? I think I did 2016 and 2017 Nationals. 2016 Nationals, I won overall. And I'm pretty sure that was when I was trying to beat Ed Collins' deadlift record. And like, I hit my opening squat. I think I got called high, came out, hit my second squat, got it, didn't take a third. And then I think I got all 3 benches, opened my deads on 330, pulled 360 on my second, and like super fast, locked it out, and then my hand just opened up at the top.
Oh.
So like just ripped open, it was done.
Damn, that's it.
But yeah,
Still
won nationals twice. Yeah.
I mean, given the state of like Aussie powerlifting and just like worldwide, I suppose they're probably two of the most competitive comps that you would find. So that's no small feat to win those.
Yeah, like Pro Raw is probably the most competitive competition that I've done. I say that, but I did the Kern US Open as well. I didn't take it too seriously because I was being stupid, but you know, yeah, like it's definitely like a highly competitive environment.
What year was that you did the Kern? 2018?
2018, yeah.
2018?
Yeah.
How did you find that, like compared to the meets you've done in Aussie?
Yeah, that's a good question, that.
Honestly, like nothing compares to the organization of like a Pro Raw meet. Just nothing compares to it.
Yeah.
It's like with the Kern US Open, I did that, I think it was 6 weeks after Pro Raw. Or maybe it was 8 weeks. No, it was definitely 6 to 8 weeks. I can't remember it exactly, but it was just super unorganized.
2 months.
I wouldn't go back to do that again.
Yeah. Just
because it was in
March. It was 16th of March for Pro Raw, and then 12th of May, Kern US Open.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It wasn't a good time, but
yeah. How'd you find working with was Gracie nice to you? Or you didn't piss her off? You didn't get her on the bad side?
Honestly, she didn't even talk to me. I went into her gym, did like a deload session there, spoke to a few of her lifters that were there that I'd spoken to previously. Like, honestly, she didn't even acknowledge I existed. Like, she knew that I was competing.
Wow.
She sent me the invite. I'm just like, I don't actually care. Like, I don't care about you. I'm just here to do your competition. Like, I got to compete against like the best 82 kilo lifters in the world. And that was like, for me, like that was all that really mattered. I think I was carrying like a knee injury from Pro Raw. And I contemplated pulling out, like even up until like the week before. I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to do the meet. I'm just going to go over. I'm going to watch it. I'm just going to have a holiday and I'm just going to enjoy my time. But I ended up competing. But I got to compete against like Malik, guy named Anthony. I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but it's like Anthony Hobaker. I can't remember. And I got to compete against John Hack as well. Yeah. So for me, it was just, it was more about just competing against. Yeah, it was, and Ben Pollack as well. I can't forget Ben Pollack. Yeah. So for me, it was just about competing against those guys and just being there. Like I didn't care about winning or losing. I was like, I was in, San Diego. I got high all week. It was terrible. I was like, weed's legal. Let's go.
Why not? Yeah, one before the lifts. This is a stacked competition. You got Mariana, I got Steph Cohen, Yuri Belkin, Brendan Allen, Larry Wheels. Yeah. I mean, fuck, you've got the who's who of powerlifting world, give or take, there as well. It would have been a real experience.
Yeah. It honestly, like for the level of lifters that they had there and the amount of money that they were putting up as prize money, I'm genuinely surprised they didn't put more money into just providing like a really well-equipped warm-up area, because they had 2 platforms running at the same time on a podium, like at the front. And in the warm-up room, you had 6 combos. There was 3 combos for the men, 3 combos for the women. So, when they're doing that and they're running like a 40-something class, like 40-something lifter flight, you got 40 lifters trying to warm up on 3 combos. You know how hard that is? Yeah. Like by the time I got under the bar, because like the people that I was speaking to and like the lifters that like I really wanted to compete against, that were great. But like a lot of the people, they're like really rude, really arrogant. Like there was just shit that wouldn't pass in Australia. Like just fucking rude people. And I couldn't even get under the bar because everyone was just like fucking in the way. And Mika Marino came up to me. I'm sure everyone probably knows who Mika Marino is. I hope so. If not, 75 kilo lifter, strong as fuck. He comes up to me and he's just like, hey, Patrick, he's like, I know you're from Australia. Just want to let you know, we're all assholes. And like, if you weren't Australian, he's like, I'd probably be an asshole to you as well. But come warm up with us. He's like, they were already up to, I think I remember like Ben Pollack had like 200 something kilos on the bar and I haven't even hit the bar yet. Right. So like, we're supposed to be going on like real soon. So I jumped under the fucking bar and just went like 60, 140, 200 and something. And then had stood there for like 5 minutes with my knees wrapped because I went to go take the bar and then someone started changing the plates. So like my last warm up was, I stood there with like literally 5 minutes with my knees wrapped because I was there with Ed. And Ed was just like, Patrick, just leave your knee wraps on. I'm like, fucking heaps pissed off. I'm like, I'm going to take them off. He's like, just leave them on, wriggle your toes. But I was really fortunate to have Ed there as well to handle me. So that was good. Definitely made the day easier. But yeah, like I said, it was just really unorganized. And they had like at the back, they had the combos on like, it's like IPF standard. So IPF standard, like it's just like a thin sheet of ply, carpet, and on the ground, right? Like it's realistically all you need. But when they've got it on like an elevated platform at the front, that's literally not engineered at all to be holding the weight that it was holding. It was like you were walking out on a fucking trampoline. So in the warm-up room, you walk out and it's fine. I think I can't remember. My last one might have been like 300 kilos. I think I opened my squat on like, you'll be able to see in front of you if you got the numbers there. I think I opened my squat on like 325. I can't recall. It's like 320 or 325.
Let me just
hit me with the number.
325 you opened on?
Yeah. So 325 was my opener, right? So I think I took 300 as my last warm-up and it was fine. And then when I walked out there, I had the rack height set at the front as like what I'd been warming up with. So like, obviously you set your rack heights. Everyone knows that when you're doing competition. That's one of the things you do. You give your attempts and like you give your opening attempts and you set your rack heights. But what happened was when I went to go unrack 325 fucking kilos, because of the fucking thing they've got it on, it just bowed.
Oh.
Right? So like I've unracked, like, so you got me at 80 something kilos.
Yeah.
I've sunk. So the bars like slipped down my back and I couldn't unrack it properly because the rack ended up being too high. And I'm like, can't just be like, I've already unracked it and stepped back a little bit. I've already fucking started. I can't re-rack it. So I'm just walked out because it's, you have to walk it out of the combo because it's not a monolift. And as I'm doing that, I just feel the fucking ground flex underneath my feet and it's shaky as all hell.
Oh, Jesus.
So like, I thought it was bad. And like, I've got a total of like my body weight plus that weight, 400 kilos, like on this thing that's not supposed to bow. But I remember you had, so JP had like 400 something kilos. And I remember like, he's a fucking big dude. And like, he took it for a fucking walk. You probably still find the video. Like he nearly ate shit just walking out the weight because the ground was just like fucking doing this.
Yeah.
So
was that the same one that the platform like bowed up when they were deadlifting and like Yuri like fucking yeah
because when I was deadlifting I can't remember what I opened on, but like I took my opener and I nearly dropped it because the platform moved apart underneath my feet.
Oh
jeez.
Damn.
Right, so like it was just really poorly organized, and I'm hoping that they've fixed it since. Like I wouldn't go back there, but not for the Kern anyway, but like just the platform just pulled apart underneath my feet. And then Ed was like, "Oh, what happened?" And I told him. So they go over and they push the platform back together. And I think they must have moved it because on my, I think it must have been my second attempt. When I went out, again, same thing, except this time the platform shifted this way, so my toes fell into a gap. So I fell forward and then struggled to lock out my deadlift, and like my pecs are cramping. I'm like, this is bullshit. So by the time the third attempt came, I was fucked. But just constant issues with the platforms. They were just terrible. But like I said, for a meet where they were putting up, I think that's like 40 grand for the male, like first place, and 40 grand for the woman. And then like it was like 40 and 25 and 10. I can't remember. It was a lot of money. They had like $100 something thousand. I'm like, why did you not get someone to come in and like fucking make sure that this was going to be okay to lift on? Like,
it feels like it's one of the easiest. Yeah, it feels like one of the easiest things to achieve in a powerlifting meet is to establish a good platform. I remember my first powerlifting meet was on a concrete floor with a Persian rug, on top of it, and that worked fucking fine. There was no drama, Persian rug, concrete floor, done.
Especially when, like Pat says, like they've got that much money to throw around. Like, why are you not just hiring like a builder to build your platform?
Exactly. When you've got that much money and you've got lifters, like the best lifters that you've invited, like from all over the fucking world, coming to your meet, like you want to make sure that like the standards that they're lifting at is like high quality. And the problem is that like a lot of the lifters, they wouldn't say shit afterwards. Like I had fucking been very open and honest, and I was like, it was dog shit. But even people that had a bad day weren't saying anything because they were too scared that Gracie was going to be like, "Oh, you can't come and do my meet anymore. You're banned." It's like, dude, like is like that really worth it? Like is going, I don't give a fuck if it's 40 grand, 50 grand. Like you're going up and you're putting yourself at risk to put like for that money. Like why would you not want to lift at the highest standard that you can with like good quality equipment and like a platform that's safe to use versus almost eating shit and fucking causing a permanent, like an injury that could just change your entire career. Because that's the reality.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think in this day and age, when powerlifting's been around for 40, 50 years, that some of the basics just haven't been nailed yet. I mean, a solid platform would be like a no-brainer. We've seen meets and the IPF and untested as well, where the spot load team have been like inadequate. Remember that IPF incident with the teenage kids they were spotting, and you've got no safeties on an IPF squat. And just absolute basics. Like, come on, guys. With sport's been around for a long time now, there are some absolutely fundamentals that you have to get right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was just a joke. I mean, you see those like tiny, skinny kids, and like, how are you going to spot Ray?
Yeah, it's like, it was Ray squatting like 480 or something. And it's
what are they going to do?
Like,
what are they going to do? Yeah, exactly. What are they going to do?
Catch that, man? That's like 700 kilos of like stuff there. Like, how are you going to catch that?
And that's exactly right. Like, they just don't like it. It's not all meat directors, but some meat directors at a very high level, I don't know how they got there. It's whether it's by like dumb luck or just because they happen to have the money, therefore they had the capacity to do it. Like, I don't know why they're there, but there's just no standards. There's no standards across federations to be like, well, this is the minimum requirement, rather than like, or like this is like the minimum standard that you have to provide for lifters. It's just, there's nothing.
I think I feel like a lot of that potentially as well sometimes is meat directors like skimping out on things, if you know what I mean. Like, I had someone ask me the other day about all the meets that we run and like what happens to all the money, and I'm like, well, actually my biggest expense is the helpers. Like, I pay all the reps, I pay all the spot loaders, I feed them, give them all t-shirts, pay them cash on the day. Like, that's my biggest expense. And people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, they expect everyone to do it for free. And like, I don't know, like, you guys have spot loaded before. It's a fucking hard day. Like,
it's definitely a hard day.
6-8 hours or whatever of like loading weights, catching people, helping lift outs, etc., etc. It's hard yakka. Like, you're not going to get people consistently doing it on a volunteer basis. You know what I mean? So like, you need to show them that they're appreciated somehow, so they come back and then they get better. Whereas like, if you are constantly having, again, this churn rate of like helpers, no one ever gets really good at it because they only do it for a couple of meets and then they're like, oh, fuck that.
They just don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Have you, Patrick, have you thought about running your own events down where you are out of the gym?
Yeah, so we've actually just ran our first meet. We didn't run it. We just hosted it. So we're an APU affiliate gym now because Crystal competes with APU. So that's like the new IPF affiliate in Australia. I'm not sure if you guys know, because PA's been out of the IPF for a while.
Yeah, PA split and went to WP. Yeah, and so then APU sprung up as the new Australian IPF. Yeah,
so PA kind of got kicked out, and then APU came in. So like, we're an APU affiliate, and as a part of that, we have to host the gym. So we weren't the meet directors. One of like the South Australian delegate was, but I guess a similar thing. Like, we just, like, it cost us money. Like, he paid us to hire the venue, but we spent a bunch of money to put the meet on and make sure that it was going to be a good event, because we really just want to make sure that the people competing have like the best stuff available to them. We weren't trying to make money off it. I think he paid us a nominal fee, and we just went and bought like a couple new bars. We bought toaster racks. We didn't have toaster racks. We never ran a meet before. And before we run the next one, we'll probably buy a bunch more shit as well, because we need to make sure we have that stuff available, so that way the lifters can have a good day. Because at the end of the day, like, you just want to, like, as athletes ourselves, we just want to make sure that they have the experience that we've had everywhere else, where we know what like the highest standard is. So we want to try and provide that for them as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the key to being like, well, even though you're not the meet director, but like being a good meet director and like hosting good meets is like reinvesting into the sport. You can't just take a chunk of profit off people's meets and then be like, hey, all right, next year you're going to pay more for the same thing. Like, you've got to constantly upskill. Like you say, you bought toaster racks, next you're going to buy probably a comp or a mono, or like whatever, and have a better warm-up room, have a better platform, have better, whatever. And I think that's how the powerlifting will move forward, if you know what I mean, is if people are constantly actually invested in it rather than trying to make money off it.
Yeah, and hopefully the lifters see that. If the lifters can see that, like, the meet director or the host is reinvesting into it, then ideally, even though it's costing us money, ideally they will see that we're investing in it. So hopefully they invest in us and be like, yeah, we'll support you. We'll come do your meets. We'll help 100%. Out. Like that's the way it should happen. Like, you need to invest in people before, like, they're going to invest in you. You can't just say, hey, come help me because I'm here. You have to show them, like, that you're worth supporting.
You're committed as well. Yeah. The split of IPF obviously in Australia was an interesting one. It's kind of relevant now with the whole thing happening in the States. I don't know if you've kept up with that.
I've seen it briefly, yeah.
How they've been suspended and they're basically probably going to get kicked out. And that a new Fed will pop up obviously as the IPF delegate. They're trying to pretend that it won't, but how people have gone from that. So there were some people who were lifting in the US team at Worlds. Obviously all the US lifters got suspended. So now all their top dogs have gone and are lifting for US Virgin Islands because it's a different team, so they can still compete at Worlds.
Yeah. Oh, so Ashton is he?
No, Ashton's not doing it. He's bowed out. He's just said, I'm not going to do it regardless. But like Amanda
he's
Lawrence,
bowed out. Okay.
Yeah. Amanda Lawrence, Russ Orhe, Chandler Babb.
Wow.
There's like a good probably 6-8 people have all Jonathan Keiko, they've all like jumped over to the Virgin Islands team, which counts as a separate federation. So they all can go to Worlds. And people are like, oh, why would you do that? Because like the US APL's just announced this like pro series sort of thing where they're going to give out, X amount of money at each comp or whatever. But all these guys and girls left to go and then be an IPF world champion as such. Basically, that's what they're leaving to do. You know what I mean? And like, Pat, you'll know this from like winning big comps like Pro Raw and Nationals, like winning really competitive comps. What, in your opinion, is worth more to you? Is it like a 10 grand paycheck, or is it being able to say that you won X, Y, and Z?
It's definitely being able to say that you won it. So like with Pro Raw, you win 2 grand. Like it cost me more than 2 grand to travel there for accommodation. Like the money's irrelevant. Like it's being able to win and say that I beat these people, I won. Like that's the most important thing. So you can understand why people like that you've named are moving across. And they're like, well, they still want to be an IPF world champ because do you know what? In like the world of powerlifting, it doesn't matter if you're like drug tested or non-drug tested. IPF worlds is still like the fucking pinnacle of worlds. Like no other federation runs a world meet at that fucking level. Not with the depth of competition. Like you will never see that competition at a fucking GPC worlds. You're not going to see that level of competition at WIPF worlds.
No.
Like you would be stupid not to pursue that.
Yeah,
so like those lifters making that decision, it's like it just makes sense to me.
They have 130 member nations or something. I think IPF do, whereas like GPC or WIPF are lucky to have like 20.
Yeah.
So like just the depth of the competition is ludicrous, and like you say, like everyone knows. Like if you're like, all right, I won IPF Worlds, it's like, all right, fair enough. That's it. That's cool. You're in.
It's like strongman. If the strongman says I won fucking Arnold's US, you're like, that's a strong motherfucker. Like that's the strongest man in the world, right? Yeah. Like it's just one of those things that you just know if the person won IPF Worlds, they're fucking good.
Yeah,
simple.
Yeah, it's a hard one for some people to get their head around. I think is that they don't understand that because like you say, like even if you win, say 5 grand from a comp, like. If you're getting to that comp, it costs you more than that for that whole prep for accommodation, flights, etc., time off work. Like you're not making money on it. Yeah. So like even if it's a nothing comp, then why would the 5 grand sort of sway you? Like
if you're motivated by money, you won't be powerlifting.
Nah,
like no one's getting rich from powerlifting.
Yeah, we've all got jobs to pay bills. Like
some people are, but it's definitely not us.
No, but if you're investing 2-3 hours a night over 3, 4, 5, 6 nights a week,
pretty shit hourly rate.
Exactly. And you do a comp and you win $5,000. It's like, okay, I don't have much of a life. My family hate me.
Even if you win the money, like even if they stayed in like the USAPL, right, and they won the money, like who did they beat?
Yeah.
Because if Russell's not there and someone else comes along and wins the 82s, who did they beat? Because no one's gonna remember that you fucking won $5,000 or $10,000. They're going to remember that you either like came second by like a bee's dick to one of the best powerlifters in the world at the time.
Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because like literally now with all the top dogs gone, and it doesn't seem like they'll go back. That next year, if people win competitions, like say whoever wins that, like you say the 83s next year at US Nationals, like people will be like, oh yeah, but Russ wasn't there. Like it's always going to have that asterisk beside it, no matter what you say. Like, oh, that's the year that Russ left, so no one cares.
It's kind of like the Olympia, because who won the Olympia before Rami did? Who was the year before? I'm going to say Brandon Curry, but it wasn't
Brandon Curry.
It was Brandon Curry. Yeah, it's like Brandon Curry winning the Olympia, but it's like, oh yeah, but Phil wasn't there, Kai wasn't there, so many people weren't
Roden
there.
Wasn't there, yeah.
Roden wasn't there. It's kind of like it's an empty win, isn't it? Because the competition just wasn't there.
Although I would argue that the Mr. Olympia is still like, if you win that shit, that's like no matter who wasn't there.
Oh, still got what, 400,000 US. Yeah, it's not a bad one.
You're still beating like the fucking genetic elite.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, but you've got all these broadcasters and commentators saying, yeah, you won, but the competition just it wasn't there. Yeah,
it's a hard one. It's I don't know. I don't think people get the fact that money doesn't motivate you.
So like, USAPL kicked out because have you seen all their social media? It's all about we were kicked out because we test too much.
Yeah. Basically, if you look at it, like from what I've seen, like they were basically kicked out from drug testing too much, and not because of anything else. And there was I'm not sure. The IPF put up a release. I did read it, but I can't remember the details of it.
So the thing with the IPF is that they need every member nation to be fully WADA compliant. Like your drug testing is all WADA, or you don't do it. You know what I mean? Like
because they were using two different drug testers to make sure that they could test everyone. So they were using WADA, but then they were externally sourcing drug testing from another company, weren't they?
Yeah. So all of their national level and up meets were drug tested by WADA, and all of their local meets were tested by like a third party, but the third party, they collected the samples themselves and like decided who to test and stuff, and just sent it to this lab to test. So it's not compliant at all, really. But they didn't want to afford to spend the money. Good intentions.
They want to be able to choose who they drug test, and they wanted to keep the costs down by using their own internal like a referee network.
And they were testing 10% of their membership every year. Like that's for an organization that's how many members?
20,000. So 2,000 a year.
They do 2,000 tests a year. Like that's a lot of testing. How do you? But so then IPF were like, no, you need to do all your testing has to be WADA or
which is less testing, but it's completely unbiased, impartial, and unbiased. They don't. The WADA lab will select who they test. They choose who to test, and it's a certain percentage. Whereas the USAPL wanted a greater percentage and a choice in the selection process. So just two opposed opinions, but basically along the same lines. It's a shame, really. I mean, I shouldn't have come to that, in my opinion. I don't think the USAPL are going to be the losers here. I think their assumption that they can come back from this and still be as popular and as big as they formerly were. I think they might have a bit of time to achieve that, but I think the IPF ultimately will win. I don't think this is a battle the USAPL can win.
Yeah, well, it's that whole discussion we literally just had. Like everyone wants to be an IPF world champ.
Yeah,
all those top lifters are going to go and lift in the new IPF delegate that turns up. The new IPF federation that turns up, everyone's all those big dogs, Taylor Atwood, Russell He, Amanda Lawrence, Daniela, etc. They're all going to go lift in that new IPF meet, which then all their followers see that on Instagram. Where are they going to go lift? They're going to go lift in that new federation as well, because that's the pathway they want to get to. They want to be those people,
Exactly. Well, federations have been opposing and going up against the IPF since the 70s. And yet still they dominate. Still the IPF dominate, WRPFs, GPCs, Capos, GPAs, they're not going to compare.
Well, now the USAPL is calling themselves an international federation, so we might get a USAPL delegate here in New Zealand. The NZ USAPL.
NZ.
How many letters can you fit in an acronym?
Why not? I think we're probably up to 4 feds. Let's go for 5.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
So Pat, for you training wise, I mean, you've competed since 2014? You said was your first comp. I mean, your training's obviously progressed a lot since then. Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me. What was your first total?
It was a novice meet. I think it was, I want to say like 500 and something.
Greg, you're my data guy. What's going on?
I've got the numbers in front of me. I haven't got the novice meet numbers here. I've got a push pull you did with GPC 2014, Pat.
And then you did Pro Raw 6.
And then he went straight to Pro Raw. So you didn't fuck around with
do you know
low-level regional competition.
I reckon I did a novice meet, and then I did a capo meet, a capo 3 lift, and that was before Pro Raw. And I think I might have gone like 612. 612 and a half kilos at the capo meet, and then from that I went to Pro Raw as my next 3 lift meet after that. Pro Raw 6.
Pro Raw 6 2014, 80 kilos, smack bang on 80 kilos. And you got a 730 total. So what a stellar outing so early on in your career.
That was it, the first Pro Raw win, the first of many.
It's funny because like prior to that, I think even my first, so I did a novice meet and a capo 3 lift. Both of those comps, I was squatting a high bar because I didn't know what a low bar squat was. So like you can see, so like my total that I went from 612 and a half at a capo meet like earlier in 2014 to that 730 total at Pro Raw was, a lot of it was because of learning how to squat low bar. What did I squat at that meet? I think I squatted 270.
277 and a half I've got here.
So prior to that, I think I'd squatted 230, maybe 235, like high bar.
Yeah.
And then I got introduced to low bar, and then like a few months later, bam, that's where it was. Yeah.
That was it.
Go yourself some squat shoes too. That probably made a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Throwing some reps. Yeah.
Well, I was using knee wraps, and I just had no idea what I was doing. So, the kilos were there to be taken.
Yeah. Since then you've hit some pretty big milestones. You hit 800 at 80 kilos.
Yeah.
I remember that at Pro Raw 7. That was the last Pro Raw at
PCHQ. Yeah. So that was 800 to 80 with a 4-hour weigh-in, because Pro Raw 6 and Pro Raw 7 was a 4-hour weigh-in because it was at PDC HQ, so we had the time. But then when they moved to the Arnold's, they changed it to a 2-hour weigh-in because, well, we didn't have the space wasn't available to weigh in early enough. Yeah.
So I mean that was sort of, do you feel like that meet sort of put you on the map worldwide ish? If that makes, like, if you know what I mean?
I think that I don't know if it put me on the map worldwide specifically, but I think that at the time, like it might have ranked me pretty high at the time, but people have gotten a lot stronger since then. But back then, that's 2015. That was still a pretty fucking big total for an 80 kilo lifter. So yeah, it definitely put me up there. And Marcos at the time was doing he was fucking just this guy, come and beat him if you can. He was really blowing smoke up my ass back then.
Yeah, it was can you come and beat Pat? That's
pretty much what it was. Yeah. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 800. Like people look back at it and they're like, oh yeah, everyone's like, there's heaps of 800 totals now. Like someone's done it, like weight classes down or whatever. But like back in 2015, 800 was a big total. I wasn't hitting 800 back then. Fuck, I think I totaled like 790 at that same comp, and I was like 2 weight classes up.
Yeah. In 2015, 800 kilos was a fucking big total. It didn't matter what weight class you were in.
Yeah.
800 kilos was still big. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to see how far powerlifting's come. I mean, obviously you've put 100 kilos on your total since then. So since then you've gone up, and then you've done a 900. You didn't water cut for that, did you?
No, I weighed in on the same day because I couldn't be bothered weighing the day before.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did that work? I can see what you did here, right? Because you went from an 825 total in March of 2019 to achieving a 900 total by October.
Yeah,
that's impressive. And you went up by 2 kilos in body weight. What happened? Like, what did something substantially change with your training?
So no, nothing changed really. I think you'll see that pro roll meet in March. I'm pretty sure I missed my third squat. I don't know if it's on there, but I reckon I missed my third squat.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
which would have given me.
Yeah,
so that would have taken me from like 825 to 845. I missed a bench press.
Got the camera in the fucking way.
And I cut weight for that meet as well. So, I had the intention of like, basically every time I've competed under 95 at pro roll, I've more or less weighed in under 90 because I wanted to try and beat like the Australian all-time record at 90 kilos. Yeah. So that was my intention going into that meet.
Your best total was at that 93.8 kilo body weight. Is that just a body weight that just feels more like stronger? You're obviously better. I mean, obviously heavier, stronger, but for you personally?
Honestly, it's just what I walk around at. So I look at the moment, I'm like 95 kilos, but I sit around there at the moment. And even like I don't like cutting weight for pro roll with a 2-hour weigh-in. Even with a 2-hour weigh-in, if you're cutting like 3-4 kilos, that's, that's coming from like glycogen depletion and dehydration. So it's going to have an impact on performance. And because I've done that every time, I haven't been able to perform as well. So the 24-hour weigh-in, it's different. You can, sort of manipulate, your glycogen, like your water levels, and still rehydrate pretty effectively and perform. But I just can't be fucked, to be honest. Like with that, when I totaled 900 kilos, no, like seriously, when I totaled 900 kilos, my goal wasn't, I want to total 990. My goal was, I want to total 900 kilos. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't fuck with any of the variables to stop me from hitting that goal. Could I have done it at 90 kilos with a 24-hour weigh-in? Fucking most probably. Like it's 3 kilos. Yeah. Of course I could have, but I didn't want to mess with the variable. We lost you.
We lost you.
Mate. Fucking hell. Yeah. I don't know what happened there, right? I was thinking, shit, did the whole thing come crashing down? No,
it stopped recording, but it's right. You can.
Did it stop recording? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's recording again now. So
we're okay. Yeah. I'll let you know tonight, or tomorrow morning, whether or not we just lost an hour and a bit.
Like with the, I lost my train of thought with that.
Total 900 kilos.
Sorry, yeah, about the competition aspect. So like you say, like you went into that comp and you were completely not competing against anyone. So you could literally just take the attempts that you wanted to try and hit the totals that you wanted. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. That how much of a difference does that make? Like when you're not trying to actually have to take strategic attempts to beat someone?
Like it just depends. So like that day, like I was in a pretty good mindset. I was like very focused on hitting that 900 kilo total. I wanted to hit it earlier in the year. It didn't happen. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm here to do. So I'm going to focus on that. But I'm like a comp day lifter. I generally I prefer having competition. Like competition is going to push me. So like last pro roll that I won, it was pro roll 11. Like I only hit what I needed to hit to win. The one before that, usually it starts with the squat. If the squat doesn't go well, like if I miss a third attempt, you know that like the rest of the day is going to be me hitting whatever I need to hit to win, not me hitting what I want to hit.
Yeah.
So like the amount of times that I've pulled like 350 kilos on my third attempt and it looks super easy, it's like that's done with intention. It's because I'm only doing what I need to do to win, and because that becomes the goal. Whereas if the goal is a total, then it's a very different approach to lifting. It's going to be, I'm going to take the attempts I want to take to hit the total or to hit a certain lift.
Yeah, it's definitely a different mindset in that respect that you can do that, if you know what I mean. But I mean, so then what's changed training wise for you over the last 6 years, or do you train much the same as you used to, and you've done it over 6 years and gotten stronger?
No, I've changed the way that I train completely. Like I say that, but training is training. Like there's no secret method. It all follows like a relatively, similar format. We lift heavier weights progressively over time, and then we reduce the weight, and then we increase it, and then we reduce the weight, and we increase it. And, sets and reps change, but it's the fucking same, right? The only thing that's really changed is like I just prefer to train less now. So previously I would have been like, when I first started, I was training like 6 days a week, and it dropped down to 5 days and dropped down to 4 days. And now I only train 3 days a week. And with pretty much all of my clients, I have them doing the same thing. And that's because I find that it's just the best way for like me personally. So I put my own bias onto my clients. I'm like, no, you're going to do 3 days a week, because mentally it just allows you to, you just come into the gym feeling better. You feel like more rejuvenated, refreshed, and ready to attack. Because if you're in the gym, like I know from experience, 4, 5, 6 days a week, you just not always going to be mentally prepared to hit your session. So allowing that space outside of the gym to just live, like, to have an actual fucking life, because we said it earlier, powerlifting's not fucking paying our bills, right? So why would you want to spend 5, 6 days a week in the gym training for, close to 20 hours or 15, however many hours you're spending in the gym? Because let's face it, if you're training at a powerlifting gym, chances are you're doing a lot of this and like fucking less of this. So there's that huge social aspect where you just waste so much time, right? It's like, do you really want to be spending fucking 20 hours a week in the gym when you're not getting paid to be there, right? So for me, I just, with the way that I program, like I have a coach, so he programs me for 3 days a week. And prior to that, like because the coach is only a new thing, but I was training 3 days a week because it just allows me that space, like to live my fucking life. Like I can, on the weekend with my kids, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go for a bike ride on Saturday or go for a hike, and it's not going to impact my training session because I don't have to train.
Yeah.
And I know that like, I don't have to train on Sunday. So Monday I can just do whatever. Tuesday, like I don't have to be in the gym. And for me, I just think that's really important because like I said, we're not getting paid to be there.
Yeah. You enjoy the sessions that you do have. I suppose that's like you say, like you come in fresh, you're not dreading any sort of session.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And because of that, you can train with more intensity. Like my clients train with more intensity. Like when they first come across, and if they've been on like 6 days a week and they come to me, I'm like, all right, you're training 3 days a week. And they're like, hang on a second. I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm going to trust your opinion. And then like a couple of weeks into, they're just like, man, like I feel really good. I'm training like heaps harder than I was before. I'm like, yeah, because you were mentally drained before and you didn't actually commit to your sessions. And now when you're like, you actually look forward to going to the gym. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I get to go train, instead of, oh man, I have to go train. Like the mindset just changes.
Yeah.
So because of that, like they get stronger, they get more jacked, and like they actually fucking enjoy training again.
Yeah. Win-win all over. Yeah. That's meant. So obviously, that touched on it. So you have a coach now. You haven't had a coach previously?
I've had coaches before. Let's just like air quote coaches. I won't like say too many things, but I've had 2 coaches prior to my current one. And like, I just feel like I know what I do for my clients. So like, I just feel like that definitely didn't happen previously.
Right.
So to have like a coach now where, well, he basically does, he's like as responsive as I am to my clients. Like if I have a problem, I message him. As far as like my feedback goes, like I just really like his approach. It just, honestly, it just works well. And for me, like, because I did manage myself for so long, like after my last coach I had before him was, what was that? It must've been maybe 2018. I can't remember.
A couple of years back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like to have such a like long space between coaches, I was a little bit apprehensive about it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to trust this person to manage me effectively. And like, well, are you going to see the goals that I have and understand like, that I'm going to do what's required to get there?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you just like, you got to try and basically give the person a bunch of trust, even though you don't know them yet. Yeah. And then when you do, it's either going to work or it's not. And it's just happened to work really well so far.
So what like brought on the actually fuck it, after this long I should get a coach?
It just became too stressful, to be honest. So with moving away from nursing and then with working in the gym and then spending more, like as soon as I moved into the gym, I started to get more like online clients. And then because I was spending more time trying to coach myself, I just found that like I was second guessing like every decision that I was making with my training. Cause I was like, oh, at the moment, like it's really fucked. Like you start to get like influenced by the results that you're getting your clients. You're like, all right, well, this person needs this. So they start to get that change and you're just like, oh, hang on a second, this is working really well for them. I should do this for myself.
Yeah.
Right. So and then like that would happen, or I'd go into a session that I'd plan it and it would be really hard because I'd be like, why the fuck did I do this to myself? I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm an asshole. This is way too hard. Like, what am I doing? So like the commitment just stopped being there to follow my own program. Cause I'm like, hang on a second, I'm the boss. I tell me what to do. Like, I'm just going to do like my own thing. I'm just go home and I'm like, I'm changing my program. This is crap. And now because I have a coach, like I took that option away from me where like, I can't cop out now and be like, oh, this session's too hard.
Yeah.
I just have to fucking do the work, which is what I would expect my clients to do. So basically I was just a bad client to myself as a coach. And, you just can't do that long term. Like I found that I couldn't continue to do it long term after I'd been doing it for a few years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's too easy to, like you say, second guess yourself and to shortchange yourself or to try and make yourself do too much or not enough. Yeah. Whereas when you just have someone else doing it, you're like, right, well, that's what I have to do. You don't have to think about it. You just do it. You don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, what's on the agenda for you competition wise coming up or in the next year or two? What's your direction?
So this year, my plan is it was to do that breakthrough meet, but it's in New South Wales. I'm pretty sure it's going to get cancelled. So exclusive for you guys. I've been talking to one of my clients who runs WIPF down in Tasmania. I've been talking to him about running a WIP for me in SA in December. So basically,
awesome.
I'll be prepping for my own meet. He's going to come over. He's going to fly over and he's going to direct the meet for me. So I'll just be hosting the meet in my gym. So that's going to allow me to compete. So that way I don't waste a prep because like I'm obviously going to keep on prepping for this breakthrough meet, but I'll be organizing the event for the week after the breakthrough meet because like I said, it's extremely likely that it'll get cancelled. And I don't really want to dog those guys and be like, well, I'm going to organize a meet on the same weekend that your meet was. Because I think that's just a little bit unfair. It's just like, I know your meet's going to get cancelled. So I'm doing it the week after. Because I have goals that I want to hit this year. I've been talking about hitting like a 400 kilo squat. So I really want to make that happen. I think that I can definitely make it happen. I definitely have the strength there for it right now. So that's going to go down in December.
So that'll be at your gym in December.
At my gym in December, either on the 17th or the 18th. It's going to be somewhat of like a invite only meet. So I'm inviting like the people from SA that were planning on doing it. And there's a few lifters from Tasmania that are probably going to come over as well. One of my clients, Mitch Lee, I spoke to him about it. He was planning on doing the breakthrough meet, but because again, COVID, chances are it's going to get cancelled anyway. I don't want him to waste the prep. So, he's going to put up a huge total as well. He's going to be aiming to hit 1,000 at 110. So if we can make that happen, that'd be sick.
Nice.
Yeah. That's my plans for this year. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, and then you just see what happens after that, really. And
after that, like I'm planning on applying for. At the moment, I'm in like Bachelor of Physiotherapy, and I'm just meeting the prerequisites that I need to apply for a master's. So basically, my plan is to apply for a master's next year, transfer over to that degree, which will probably be a little bit more intensive. So I don't know if I'll actually have the time to train the way that I do over the next 2 years if I get into that program. So it's highly unlikely that I'll be competing in 2022, 2023, or even powerlifting. I don't know. But I guess
you want to get it done.
Well, that's the decision that I'm going to make. Like, powerlifting's not paying my bills.
Yeah.
And I want to be a better coach than what I am now. Like, I feel like I'm a good coach, but I want to be better. I just want to keep on, growing and taking that shit to the next level. So if that means that I have to put my training on, to the side, so that way I can keep on progressing and learning, then that's what I'm going to do.
And that's it. That's cool, man. So obviously 400 kilo squat is the goal this year. What does that come with total wise? Is that like a 920 or something? Like, are you gonna do the 90s, or are you gonna just walk in again, or?
I'm undecided. So basically, like, I'll be training, but like I said, because it'll be a 24-hour weigh-in, I'm undecided at this stage. I'll either weigh in at 90 with a 24-hour weigh-in and aim to beat the all-time world record squat at 90 kilos.
What's that at the moment? Oh, it's that's Chad Pinson at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's done. Oh, it was like 402 or something, wasn't it? 401.
Yeah, something like that. So I'll aim to beat that squat. And if I don't do that, then I'll compete at 100. Like, I've got lots of time to make up my mind there. But if I don't do that, I'll end up competing at 100 kilos. And the aim will just be to do something silly. Like, I'm just throwing it out there, aims 1,000 kilos. If I can total 1,000 kilos in December, then I'll make it happen.
Looking at your lifting history, Pat, I mean, you've got that 372 squat in the bag. So, add another 28 kilos on top of that. You got your 400 right there. You hit that 175 back in 2019, but fucking camera's right in the way. But you've done a 180 before, so you got another 10 kilos there, give or take. And if you hit that 370 deadlift, we're talking 960, 970 easily. So, everything aligns on the day.
Well, the bench is actually coming along really well. So I've had a lot of trouble, a lot of trouble with it in the past. Just training it consistently. And again, that was because I was like coaching myself. So quite often it was just it was really hard to because I was like, my bench sucks. I was just probably training it with a little bit too much volume, and it was just having the opposite effect of what I wanted. But now, I benched 180 a couple of times recent, in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that looked good, man.
Oh, easy. Nice.
I don't see why that won't be, a bit higher come December.
Yeah. I just had a look, and Chad did 400 at the Kern. Would you chip it? Would you go 401, or would you go 402 and a half? Or 400.5?
400.5. Come on, let's keep it real.
No. That's fucking lame. I'm not that guy. No, the aim would be 900 pounds.
Okay, 14. Dope. That's cool, man. 903. That's sick.
Yeah, that's the aim. Because that's a milestone squat. It's 800, and then after 800 it's 900. So if you're not aiming for fucking 900 and you're gonna aim for less, I don't see what's the point. So yeah, I'll be aiming for 410.
I mean, that's those sort of middle lightweight classes are getting super fucking stacked these days. And they're just taking off. It's crazy. Yeah. I saw they're having that the showdown is in 4 or 5 weeks. But that's
far
sleeves.
Away.
That's sleeves only. So I mean, there won't be any there'll be some big squats there, obviously, still in sleeves, but it won't be like that. But I saw Hack pulled a 402 or something the other day.
Pulled 405. He's hit a 340 squat. He benched 265 in training, but Andy touched the bar, so he's not counting it.
Yeah.
And then he's pulled 405.
Yeah. That's 10-10.
Oh, it's fucking off the hook, eh? He's just phenomenal.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's strong as fuck. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just going off. I feel like powerlifting's definitely, even though people have had a real fucked year, with competing and stuff for the last 18 months, people don't stop, It's still, everyone's still coming up. There's still all-time world records getting broken. Fuck, it seems every month.
They're getting broken by the people that are committed to their training. We spoke earlier about people that are just in here, they're just here for a minute and then they're gone, right? They're not the people that are going to be beating all-time world records consistently. The people that are beating them are the people that are committed to their training.
Day in, day out.
Those guys, they're always going to train. I don't stop training. I drive a Ford Focus, right? little Ford Focus turbo diesel, right? I'm telling you this because when we went into lockdown, I got a fucking like Rogue bloody giant like monster light rack, and that goes in the back of the car. I got a full fucking comp set of like calibrated plates that goes in the back of the car, right? Texas bar, squat bar, power bar, everything goes in the car, and I drive that shit home so that way I can keep training. Like it just doesn't stop, and like that car is a weapon, right? So
yeah,
it moves all of the equipment that I need. So it doesn't matter. Like the people that like are going to train, like they'll do everything they can to get the equipment that they need. And if they can't, like they're still going to be doing things like necessary to make sure their body keeps moving or they're staying healthy. It's not like they just like, oh, fuck it, the world's locked down 2 weeks or 4 weeks, however long you've been in lockdown for 3 weeks. Like I doubt that you're being, or you might be, I don't know. I'm making some assumptions here that you're not just being a fat slob and like being inactive, right? You're probably going to be doing like
fucking guilty. Yep, guilty.
Yeah, I don't know about Greg, but I'm definitely not.
Right? Like you're going to be doing the things that you can in order to keep on supporting your performance. You're not going to just like drop off and be like, oh, I give up. Life's too fucking hard. Like we don't do that. The reason we get strong is because we're fucking resilient, right? Yeah. Like powerlifting's not like easy. It's really hard. It's something that just takes a lot of commitment, and you need to be a fucking resilient person in order to, you know, compete at the highest level in order to keep on pushing your body. Because when you get under a fucking, like, you know, when you get under a like bar that's got like over 300 kilos on it, like you've got these thoughts in your head. You're like, I could fucking die doing this shit. This shit could snap me in half. And then it's just like that little voice, and you're like, you know what? Fuck you. And you do it anyway because you have to. Yeah. Other people, they'll be like, I'm too scared to lift that. I'm like, well, we don't have time for that shit. Like you're doing it or you're not. Like you don't have time to be weak. You have to be like mentally strong in order to lift those weights. Simple.
Yeah, it doesn't get any lighter. Like as you get better, it gets harder, which is cooked most people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is probably why there's like a high churn rate as well, because people just aren't resilient enough to keep on pushing into those places where they're uncomfortable, to keep on pushing, like when the shit gets hard and when the shit gets scary and they're getting stronger and they're like, oh, fuck. They're like, I can't do this. I'm going to stop. It gets too real for them.
Yeah, 100%.
So Pat, no more pro raw for you, eh?
Look, it's something like, it's definitely something that I've thought long and hard about, right? It's a tough question. Like it's a tough question, but like I love Emad. Emad is the owner of Pro Raw. Obviously, Marcos is like affiliated with it, so I fucking love Emad. He's a great dude. So because of him, like I really want to do Pro Raw to support him, but at the same time, like, you know, that whole situation with Marcos, we don't need to bring up the details. Yeah. But like that still exists. It's still there. So like there's no more Pro Raw, because if I go and do Pro Raw when Marcos is still affiliated with it, like that just makes like my statement and what I said, it just takes away from that. And like, I said what I said, and I'm going to stand by it because it's the right thing to do. And if at the time that changes, if Marcos is no longer affiliated with it, then sure, we can talk about it. And it's the same with GPC. Like, you know, people have been messaging me about doing like certain GPC comps. I'm like, I'm not going to do them because Marcos is still affiliated with GPC. And until that's like announced otherwise, I just can't be affiliated with it. But I did speak with my little sister. My little sister is actually a super intelligent woman. She's actually doing a PhD. And so like that stuff, like racism, like that's really important to her. And I'm pretty sure that's probably the primary focus of her PhD. But she did say that if I did choose to do like one of their meets, that it's, you know, she would understand, but I would have to make sure that, like, you know, I was saying to people that I'm doing it, but it's difficult. It's a difficult situation. Yeah. If I want to support a friend and like they're not, like their meet is, even though it's a GPC meet, or if it's a pro raw meet and it's like separate to him, like he is not the meet, right? He's not like the federation. It's just a touchy subject, really.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously there's the other situation in Australia at the moment with Wilkes. But then again, there's other situations too, which are almost dividing friends apart and families apart, with the situation with vaccinated versus unvaccinated. then of course you had Arnold's statement the other day, where he said, "Screw your freedoms," because he was pro-vaccination. I'm assuming I haven't actually looked into it, but pro-vaccination is my assumption.
He was pro-vax and
pro-lockdown, pro-vaccination, and dividing the sport, at that level as well, dividing people apart, which is quite apparent in the US as well. So it's a tricky situation. But you definitely made the right stand there. We 100% back you.
Thank you.
It's horrible to think that. I mean, I see it on a daily basis here in New Zealand. I work with an organization now where a lot of Māori values are incorporated into the way we operate, into the way our language. And with
it's cooked. Like when they'll say like Aotearoa or whatever, like the Māori name for New Zealand, and you get all these people,
so many people,
and it triggers so many people. And I'm like, why are you so triggered by this?
Yeah,
like they were here before us.
Like,
you know what I mean?
It's funny because my little sister, we have different dads, but like her dad's Māori, so
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. She was actually she was actually only in New Zealand not long ago, in July, I think. Yeah.
It honestly just this stuff triggers so many people, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? How little have you got going on in your life for that to be an issue for you? Like, how does it affect you in any way?
Yeah, look, you see it all the time. Like I see it all the time in my newsfeed. Like
100%.
Australia's just a very racist place. There's just lots of systemic racism that exists.
Yeah.
And it's just like been so socially acceptable and socially normal for so long that like trying to eliminate it is just really difficult, because you come up against all these older people that just sort of push their values onto their children, and their children sort of just like, just regurgitate that same fucking bullshit. And like back to Marcos's post wasn't trying to be racist. In fact, like he was just coming from a pure place of ignorance where he didn't realize what he was saying was racist. And like, that's what, like, I had originally messaged him and I was like, dude, that was racist. And he's like, oh, but that's your opinion. I'm like, all right, you don't want to listen, but that's his age. That's his demographic, where they don't like being told what to do by a younger person. They're like, well, fuck you. What do you know?
Yeah.
But like, the fact of the matter is, like, just because you don't think it is, it doesn't mean it's not. Right.
Yeah.
So you've got all these people that they have these opinions that exist, but a lot of it just comes from ignorance, where they don't realize what they're saying is racist.
Yeah. And also the thing with that is that like, it's how it affects the person that you're saying it to, not how it affects you. You know what I mean? Like, like if the person you're saying it to thinks it's racist, then it is. You know what I mean? Like, if they perceive it as racist, then it is. So like,
absolutely.
It's a hard one to broach with some people, because they don't, like you say, they don't take other people's advice.
Probably 2 or 3 lockdowns ago, we would catch up with our neighbours, and we live in a road with a lot of elderly people in it, and we would catch up and have these kind of like, not virtual drinks, but these kind of 3 meter spaced apart drinks, and we'll sit in someone's driveway.
Yeah, nice.
And I'd listen to the stories these old people would have, and they would talk about things such as they talk about politics, for example, and they would say, well, no, so and so's incredibly smart, and Māori as well, and they would like make little comments like that.
Yeah.
And they had no idea what they were saying.
They don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like,
they're really innocent, and they would say, yeah, but incredibly smart, and almost like, oh, really? That's a surprise, isn't it? Because they've got dark skin. No idea.
Do you know what? The thing is, like you look at my skin, I'm like, oh, is Patrick Aboriginal? I had no idea, right? But like, I've even had it at work. Like when I was in my old job as a nurse, when I first started, actually, I was working with someone, and it had come up, and I was just like, yeah, I'm Aboriginal. And she was like, oh, well, good on you for going to uni and getting an education and getting a job. Like, well done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, pat me on the back. I've done so well.
Yeah. Despite all your disadvantages.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like, oh, well done. You're contributing to society.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. That they don't realize that what they're saying is like, it's racist.
Yeah. Without even trying. It's just it's not inbred. That's not like the right word for it. But like you say, it's systemic. It's ingrained. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's almost sort of, it's completely unconscious. You know, racism that going on, and the first step is for them to be absolutely fully conscious of the fact that they have these biases. You know, and that's almost that's where we are. It's where I like to think we are as a society right now, is starting to realize that we're starting to question our own biases. And I know definitely for sure I questioned my own biases maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
Around Māori, and then I did a little research, and I almost had a revelation, and my wife had it the same too. We I don't know what happened, but you know, I think we had visited Waitangi at one point, and just really understood what had happened between, you know, the Māori and the British, and absolutely newfound respect. And then my wife with her, one of her papers at the moment, did a paper on Māori sort of medicine. She's doing a paper in naturopathy at the moment, or a degree in naturopathy, and she did a whole study of natural remedies that the Māori had, you know, 1,000, 1,500 years ago, and from her point of view, absolutely newfound respect as well. And the kids, both my boys now, have been studying Māori in school. You know, my oldest son can do a waiate, can do a pōwhiri as well. He can do all sorts of things. And I'm like, wow, this is really, it's a really impressive culture, you know, and this for me was a complete revelation that was built up over time. I've got this absolutely newfound respect. But at that point, many years ago, I had the biases that have been imprinted onto me by my parents unconsciously. Because both my parents, grew up and spent a lot of time in South Africa. I was born in South Africa as well, and so there was that baseline of almost like, I hate to say it, but racism. That you don't.
I don't want to make assumptions, but you say South Africa, and
you say exactly, yeah. As soon as you hear South African, yeah. And I remember my parents through the years would say, and I'd say, I've got a new friend. You know, his name's I can't remember what I'd say, like a Māori name. And they're like going, oh, okay. So is he an intelligent boy? I'd be like, yeah, he is. Yes, he's fine. He's not completely normal, you know?
I feel like that's a good case study though, Greg. Like you say, like you went and researched Māori culture and like had a look at things and stuff. But a lot of those biases that people have come from a lack of understanding. You know what I mean? Like they get scared of things people get scared of things they don't understand. And so they come up with these protective mechanisms, you know, like, oh, I don't understand Māori people. Okay, yeah, but it's all right because I'm smarter than them, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a protective mechanism almost.
Yeah, it was fascinating looking back onto the treaty as well, and how the Māori interpretation of the treaty was completely different to the English interpretation.
Like,
they
wrote
no wonder you're pissed off. I'd be pissed off too, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, they wrote one thing for them, one thing for us, and then that was
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
It's cooked, man. It's just ingrained with some people.
So, long story short, we may or may not see Patrick at the next Pro Raw, but we completely understand your rationale.
Yeah, look, that's the best answer I can give you.
Yeah.
But even that doesn't matter. I won it 6 years in a row. No one else is going to do that. So good luck to them.
Yeah. You got plenty to keep you busy in the meantime, hosting comps and then hitting a comp and then study and stuff. That's enough for anyone.
Yeah.
Patrick, does running the just out of interest, does running the WRPF meet potentially, does that impact on the APU standing with the APU relationship?
I don't think so. So because we're a APU affiliate gym and we're not actually, like, Crystal's not she's not a delegate, she's like an APU member, it doesn't impact anything. So I spoke with another gym owner who runs APU and GPC, and they were able to do it just fine, because we're hosting the meet. We're not, you know, that's all it is. It's nice. It shouldn't impact anything as far as I'm aware.
Awesome. Now, before we close up for the evening, any plugs?
Where do people find you for coaching? This is the shameless plugs, bro. We're all about it. Get them in.
The shameless plugs. Look, just message me. Like, if you don't know, it's all you need to do is just message me on Instagram. I'm always on Instagram. I don't use Facebook too much, but that's the best place to find me. It's either Patrick Morrison or it's strength-led powerlifting. That's about the most shameless plug you'll get from me.
It looks like a sick gym from the videos and stuff that I've seen, and like, so I mean, if anyone's ever in South Australia, check it out. Otherwise, obviously, online coaching is the way of the future, I think.
Online coaching is definitely the way of the future. It's probably most work that I do with powerlifters is online. But if you are in South Australia at any point and you're traveling, or if you live here and you want to train, just come along. Like, we pretty much accept everyone, unless you're an asshole.
Unless you're an asshole or have COVID. There's a bit of
yeah.
Don't bring your COVID.
Yeah. COVID. Yeah, we don't have a vaccination rule, so
there you go. Yeah,
that was probably a joke. That there was a winery in South.
You don't need to show your little card. Yeah.
There's a winery in South Australia did that.
True.
It was a joke for the South Australians that are watching. Yeah,
I did see. I did see something similar in the US as well. There was an event of some kind. I think it was a dance party of some kind, and you had to show proof of vaccination. So it's
crazy.
it's on its way. It's coming worldwide.
How ridiculous!
A little badge on your shirt or something like that. Yeah.
Fuck.
Guess that's the new normal, isn't it? Yeah. All right, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a real blast. We had a really good time. Good yarns. Hopefully we'll catch you around soon, and we're looking forward to that 1,000 kilo total.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a good chat. Hopefully I didn't talk too much shit.
No, mate.
That's what we're all about. That's what we're here for.
That's our tagline. We talk shit.
Yeah. If we had a motto, that'd be it.
That'd be, shit talk. Awesome, man. Take it easy, yeah?
Catch you later. Thanks for your time, Pat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Catch you later on.
See ya.
See you, mate.